Well, hey everybody, and welcome to the live show for the second time. Last week was the very first live show, and I want to thank everybody that tuned in live and all the people that watched after the fact. So I think it was over 4,000 people that saw the video since last week. So that's fantastic, and it's great to have everybody chiming in during the live show here as well. So let me know that you can hear and see me in the chat box there, because as I mentioned, this is just the second one that I've done, so I want to make sure that everybody is getting through to the show. So a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all is that I just got back from driving the all-new Audi A8 in Spain. I flew there with Audi, and yes, the car companies do certainly fly auto journalists to different events around the world. And a lot of people ask, well, Zach, you're being flown there, it's got to be a biased review. But the reality is I do this every single week. So if I did it once, yes, it would be kind of special, but I pretty much travel every week. So yeah, it's a bit of a grind to do this week after week, but it's much easier for a car company to have an event in one spot and fly auto journalists from around the world there over the course of a couple of weeks, instead of having to have literally hundreds or thousands of cars to ship all over the world. So great that people are tuning in. I can say people can hear me loud and clear. We have lots of people tuning in tonight, so thank you for that. Excuse me. All right. Now, what else did I want to talk about? What else is coming up? So on Sunday, I leave for Greece, believe it or not, to drive the new Porsche Cayenne, which is a personal favorite of mine. I owned a Porsche Cayenne and hope to again. So I'm very interested in this product. I think that's why Porsche invited me, because I've been bugging them. When is the car coming out? Am I going to get a chance to drive it first? So because I'm leaving on Sunday, arriving in Europe on Monday, I won't be able to do the live show next Monday. So I'm going to push it off till later in the week when I return. But I will get a live show on again next week. It's just not going to be on Monday. That's my goal for the future, is to have people tuning in on Mondays, but it's not going to be the case. I need a drink of water. Now, other events that are coming up here over the next few weeks that I'm going to be going to, there's a Ford Mustang / Expedition launch that's happening in Los Angeles. They updated the Mustang, gave it more of the GT 350 look at the front, so I'm very excited to drive one of my favorite cars. I love the Mustang. I love the Mustang GT, so that's coming up. Followed right after that by the Kia Stinger launch, also in California, a week after that. Then at the end of November, it's the LA Auto Show. I've been invited there by Mitsubishi. They're going to have a new Mitsubishi Sport, a Mirage, that I'm going to be driving. That's a new utility vehicle. And then after that is the Nissan Leaf, and then we head into the middle of December. So those are the new product launches that I'm going to be attending as we go through the next couple of weeks. All right. People are saying, hey, Zach, huge fan of your channel. Can you talk a little bit about the 2018 Audi SQ5? Absolutely. Now, if you tuned in last week, you heard me going on, excuse me, about the A4 and how much I love it. And I think it really is, in my opinion, the class leader in the compact car space for premium compact cars. Now, the reason why I bring up the A4 and the SQ5 is that all of the new Audi products are built off that platform. A4, A5, S5, all of those. Then you go into the Q5 and the SQ5, all built off the same modular platform, which is fantastic. It's much lighter, much more nimble. They share a lot of engine components. So the same engine that you're going to get in some of the performance sedans, you also get in the SQ5 with, off the top of my head, I believe it's 354 horsepower, has available adjustable suspension. And I do believe that the Q5 has gone to the top of the pack in terms of compact utilities in the premium space, and the SQ5 just adds up a lot more power. But what they did, which was very different from most product launches, is they didn't stagger it. Typically, they bring out the baseline model, that would be the turbo 4-cylinder with 252 horsepower, and then a year or 18 months later, they bring out the SQ5. They brought them out at the exact same time, and I'm seeing a lot of them on the road. Now, they get more for the SQ5, which is more profit for the company, and then hopefully we might even get an RS Q5 if there is such a thing. But that is going to be a vehicle that a lot of people will gravitate towards if they're wanting a more powerful version. So the nice thing is you can go really deep into that car if you want to have a very luxurious and fully loaded version, but you can also keep the price down if you try to minimize the amount of features you add on. And I think the starting price is right around $60,000, so there's some good value there. Hey, Smil Tavares from the Dominican Republic, how cool is that? We also want to say hi to to some other people. Ewan Keenan says, how do I get rid of the stale fart smell in my Buick? Get a new car. Other people are chiming in here. I want to apologize. This is the first couple of weeks I've been doing the live chat, and my chat box keeps jumping around, so it's hard to keep up here. What luxury sedan sportback do you recommend for a young professional out of college? Well, I mentioned the A4. The other thing I've noticed about Audi with their new lineup of cars, they're very aggressive with their leasing, and they have excellent leasing rates. So that one I would definitely consider. It says, great to see you live rather than the many reruns on driving television. For those that are not aware, I do host a TV show across Canada on Global. It's every Saturday morning at 11:30, and TV, to do a whole half-hour show and to produce it is very different than to do, you know, a YouTube video for, you know, 6 or 8 minutes and to go live, which is very immediate. But yeah, the new shows for driving television are starting in the next couple of weeks, so that's good that we're going to have some new products there. Somebody asked, Zach, love your show. Can you explain why Durham, I think is how you say the name, the 2018 Golf R won't have a sunroof and 310 horsepower in Canada? Power bump is reserved for other places. In Europe, it's getting a power boost. He claims in a hot climate like Africa, it does, but we don't get it in North America. The feedback I got from the PR rep here in Canada is, it comes down to the quality. This is his claim on this car. Comes down to the quality of the fuel. They can get more power out of the vehicle with a higher fuel quality in Europe. They're sticking with the 292 horsepower, and they're also going with the higher 310 horsepower in Europe. And they claim it's because of the fuel quality. Now, for the sunroof, a lot of people complain that that doesn't have the sunroof. I hate sunroofs. I always have them shut. We had an X5 years ago with a huge panoramic roof. I always had it closed. I don't like them. I don't like the sun shining in when I drive them. I had a Carrera, had the sunroof closed all the time. So, you know, some people want to have that. I think what they decided to do in Canada was to keep the price down and to have the vehicle very, very competitive. And it's interesting, you look at a fully loaded GTI with performance pack, and then you look at the Golf R. It's a no-brainer to get the Golf R starting around $40,000. Will the Porsche Mission E be the first electric car to take on Tesla? Well, I think that yeah, it's going to be very interesting. They're going to claim to price it at a very attractive starting price. But I've seen the concepts. I think it was in Paris, and it's not that big a car from what I could see standing next to it. Porsche is doing electrification in most of their model line now, except for the sports cars, for the larger vehicles like the Cayenne and the Panamera, and they're doing sort of a low-range electric car. So this is going to be a long-range electric car, as you mentioned, to compete with Tesla. As they say, the proof is in the pudding, but going recently, just last week, with Audi to Europe to drive the A8. All of their new vehicles, whether they're you know, the V6 turbo that we're going to get here in Canada or the V8 turbo, have what's called a mild hybrid system. They're upping the voltage of the electric system to 48 volts, where it used to be 12 volts, and that enables the car to switch off the engine more often. So there's going to be gains made by these manufacturers, and that technology that is in that car is going to be shared in the new Cayenne and new vehicles coming forward. It enables them to get about a 0.1 liter improvement in fuel economy economy. But fuel electrification from these brands is really quite small. It's baby steps now, like the e-Golf from the Volkswagen Group. But the one thing I will say about the Germans when it comes to electrification, they have massive amount of resources. So the Volkswagen Group, that's Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, and all the different divisions that they have committed 80 billion euros to new technology. So the one thing they have is research and development, and they have deep, deep pockets, which Tesla doesn't have. So yes, Tesla has a first to market advantage for having, long range full electric cars that are dynamic to drive, but they won't have that advantage forever. And these manufacturers are ramping it up and spending huge amounts of money, and they have massive research and development. So yes, Tesla first to market. Still a question mark about the Model 3, how quickly they can get that to market. But with the new Leaf coming, the new Bolt outselling is the best-selling vehicle, full electric in the United States month after month. It's going to be very interesting to see if they can keep that first-to-market advantage. All the Audis have the same interior. That's not quite true. The new Audi A8 that I just drove has a totally different interior from any other Audi. It's similar, I will grant you that, to the new Panamera. It's built on the same Panamera platform, but we're going to start to see the new dashboard that has 3 screens migrate across to other vehicles, but it's going to take some time. Chris Doucette says, what's your opinion of the 2018 WRX? I'm stuck between the new Civic Si and the WRX. Price is a factor for me, but I love to have all-wheel drive living near Georgian Bay. Well, I can totally see that. It has more power. The WRX has more power. The Si is front-wheel drive, less power. The WRX is a wonderful workhorse car with great resale value. However, I just picked up today the new Hyundai Elantra GT Sport that has 201 horsepower, 5-door hatchback with a manual transmission, starts around $26,000. This is going to be a car that I think should be getting some attention, and my review of that car will be later in the week. So I just picked it up today, and I'm really looking forward to driving it. So that's one to consider. But if you're worried living in Georgian Bay where you get a lot of snow, being in the snow belt, for me, it probably would be the WRX, but don't discount a Honda Civic Si with a really good set of winter tires. And the number one thing you need in winter is good winter tires. Somebody put a question in under the comments last week and said, do you need winter tires driving in Toronto? And I totally think you do. Here's an interesting anecdote. In the province of Quebec, they have mandatory winter tires from right around now, next month, the middle of November until April. And they drive the smallest cars in the country. A lot of them, like the Nissan Micra, Quebec outsells the rest of the country. They love small little hatchbacks like the Hyundai Accent, the Honda Fit, and they can drive through some pretty deep snow with just good winter tires. So think about that. Sometimes all-wheel drive just gets you to the ditch faster. Hey, here's one that we were just talking about with a colleague. When do you think the 2018 Jetta will be released in North America? So the LA Auto Show is coming up at the end of November, and typically if there was going to be a big reveal, I would have heard about it already. So I don't think it's going to be LA. It probably will be the North American International Auto Show in Detroit that happens the second week of January. And yeah, I think that is definitely going to be something that we're going to have to check out, and it's going to be built on the same platform as the Golf, and it should have much improved driving dynamics considering the Jetta has been on an old platform for quite a while now. Mid-engine Corvette from Russ Freed. There's rumors that that could be happening, and the one thing I think Corvette needs to do, it's the same thing with the M3 and M4, is that they might end up being forced to go to an all-wheel drive situation. Another car that I'm driving this week, I mentioned last week, I have 3 cars that I have to drive this week. I have the Cadillac ATS V, which is a really nice car actually. I think the ATS is a wonderful product, but it has rear-wheel drive only. And the other thing is the Corvette is a wonderful car, and you see all of these tests done by the big gloss magazines, often in California with sunny, dry weather. Well, you get into a cold, rainy day like we have here in Vancouver with the rear-wheel drive only car. It's a very limiting car to own. You can really only drive it for the fair weather months. So I would love to see Corvette with an all-wheel drive option. And we might see that with other high-performance cars, but mid-engine, that's very radical, and we'll have to wait and see. Somebody just wrote, Bruce said, just recently saw you and your wife testing the Volkswagen Tiguan. I plan to order one, but the available dates are almost like 3 months. So here's what you do. You go to the dealer and you say to them, if I want to order a new Tiguan, and this is the same thing that's happening with the Golf as well, and one of the main reasons is what's happened with Volkswagen over the last 2 years. They got caught with the whole Dieselgate situation. So now that the diesel situation has been rectified for those with the 2-liter diesels, a lot of the owners of these cars are returning. I think they've only done about 25–30% of the cars have been returned so far. So they had over 100,000 cars that needed to come back to the dealerships. So yes, some people will be leaving Volkswagen and buying another product, but a large percentage of them will be returning to Volkswagen. So Volkswagen has a supply issue right now, so they have their usual people that want to buy a car from them, plus all of the people that are bringing cars back. So I think that's one of the issues, one of the reasons why there's a real delay getting a car. So if you like the product, you can always ask them, is there anything in the pipeline that might be going to a dealer here or there that you can divert and have sent to me? It's worth asking. And if you really like the product, the reality is 3 months goes by pretty quickly. Can you comment on a 2015 Audi S4 with 133 kilometers on it? Well, any German car, I always say you want to have as long as you can under warranty. So if you're looking at a car with 133,000 kilometers on it that's 2 years old, and if you're buying this car, you want to have it fully inspected by a dealership other than the one that's selling it. So what you do is you say, yeah, I'm interested in that car. If you're really getting close to buying it, say, I want to have it inspected, but I want to have it inspected by the Audi store across town. So they'll drive the car over there. You pay that separate Audi store to do the inspection because you've paid the money. You're the only one that sees the inspection report. You'll get that inspection report. Then you take that back to the dealer that's selling the car. Then you have a little bit of negotiation if the car needs some updating. And then you have to ask for the CPO warranty, certified pre-owned warranty, to extend it to 6 years. And then from there, you're negotiating. It's a wonderful, wonderful car. But please, I love German cars. You hear me talk about them all the time, but they can be very expensive to fix. You want to have them under warranty as long as you can, and do your due diligence. And always, any car that's used, you have to have it inspected. Zach, how do you compare the Volkswagen Golf, Mazda 3, Subaru Impreza, Honda Civic hatchbacks? Someone who came from owning an A3 hatchback, but wouldn't get caught dead in an e-tron hybrid. It's interesting. I get a lot of these questions all the time. The Impreza CVT, Honda Civic CVT, you can get the manual. I'm not sure if you're wanting manuals or not. If it came down to the cars that I think are more driver-oriented, Mazda 3, Golf, Civic. Subaru kind of falls in the middle there. It's definitely getting better in the handling department, but those 3 other vehicles definitely are more driver's cars. So if you're getting a manual in those, yeah, I would consider them all. When it comes to power, the Impreza, I think, is the weak link in that one, especially if you can get the Mazda 3 with the 2.5 liter, and the Golf has 200 foot-pounds of torque and 170 horsepower from a turbo engine and runs on regular gas. So that's a nice product. The Honda Civic hatchback, if you get the sport model and you want to get 180 horsepower, you do need to put in premium fuel. So if it comes down to those products, if you're getting an automatic, it's Golf or Mazda 3 in my opinion. I'm just not a CVT lover. If it's a manual, I think the 3 vehicles, if you're sort of performance oriented, would be the Civic, the Golf, and the Mazda 3. The Impreza, I just don't think, unless you're going to go up to a WRX, is potent enough for somebody that wants a vehicle that's fun to drive. All right, let's just jumped around here on me again. Apologize for that. Chris Doucette just wrote back and said, hey man, I appreciate your comments on the WRX. I've driven the Elantra Sport twice now and I just don't feel as good in it. I guess it doesn't have the flashiness of the SI or the WRX. Hey, that has something to do with it, right? I mean, you spend all that money, you want to drive a fun car, and sometimes you want it to be sporty looking. Bruce writes and he says, any updates on the Mazda CX-5 diesel? Well, it's interesting. I did an article recently for a local newspaper here about the changes that they made for the CX-5. And I was doing all of the research online, and there are no 18s listed yet, only 17. So here we are in the last couple of months almost of 2017, talking to some other colleagues when we were in Spain driving the new Audi A8, said, what do you guys think's going on with it? And the rumor is, you know, maybe the car's just not ready yet and they're delaying it as long as they can, because they can sell 17s up till, you know, the end of the year, and they might bring an 18 in maybe even in February or March and sell off some old stock. So I'm not sure exactly what's happening with that. They claim it's coming. We'll just have to wait. Now, if you want a utility, non-premium in Canada that's diesel, you have the new Equinox and you have the new GMC Terrain. And I'm here to tell you, a lot of people disagree with this, but I really do believe that the new General Motors products are much, much improved. Very nicely equipped on the inside. Their head units are especially easy to understand and use. You have lots of different engine choices, including a diesel. And I just picked up the Cadillac, as I mentioned this morning, from the local dealer here. And I asked him, have you got any Equinox or Terrain diesels in yet? He said the very first batch are trickling in. So go and try one when they arrive at the dealerships and just see for yourself what you think about it. But there you go. Dwayne just wrote and said, how's your driving record? Impeccable, Dwayne. I got a speeding ticket driving to the Okanagan 2.5 years ago when we got our A7. I was driving the car when it was new, and I was used to taking, for those that know British Columbia, the Coquihalla and the connector. When I turned off the connector to go to Kelowna, here's one of the great things. British Columbia on that highway has a 120 km/h speed limit. So you can push it a little bit over that, 130, but I took a different route and I took Highway 3 instead, and I forgot that it wasn't 120. So I got busted. But yeah, I have a pretty good driving record. I don't speed or in places I can get caught. That's all I'm going to say. Somebody just said, hey, Zach, what happened to your YouTube watch channel? I'm a watch addict and I liked your videos. Yeah, so I have a watch channel called Watch This, WATCHTHIS, Watch This, and have a look for it. I do watch reviews. I'm not as frequent as I am with the car reviews. It's kind of more of a hobby. But if you're interested, there's some newer stuff that I did in the last couple of weeks on there. Are you going to do a 2018 Dodge Durango review? If you are, can you not do the SRT review? Can you simply do a Citadel version, something that people actually buy? Let me know. Here's the thing. The Durango I did a couple of years ago. I did actually a couple of videos when it was refreshed. So the reviews are still there and not a lot has changed with the Durango. I really like the Durango a lot. I like the Grand Cherokee. And the Durango is just a bigger Grand Cherokee platform, which, by the way, dates back to the Mercedes relationship. Remember when it was Daimler Chrysler? Well, when Mercedes brought out their ML years ago, Chrysler had access to that platform, and that's what the Grand Cherokee is built on. And the Durango is built on a similar platform to the Mercedes GLS. Now it's available with the 6-cylinder or the V8 Hemi, and it has the 8-speed automatic transmission. The advantage to that product over the rest is it has a much better towing capacity. I believe it's 7,000 pounds, where most 3-row mid-size utilities are right at 5. I think the Pathfinder's gone up to 6, but Durango is the champ. So if you tow, that's the one you want to get, and it's one of the few that's still available with a V8. All right, I'm back where I was supposed to be. I keep losing myself here. Is Acura redesigning the RDX in 2019? Yes, it's coming. It's going to be coming refreshed and updated. The V6, if you watch my review I did recently, I'm a big fan of that because it's old, tried and true technology. V6, 6-speed automatic transmission, basically an upgraded CRV. So the new CRV is out now. It's been out for about a year. So yes, Acura follows behind about a year or so. So they'll take that new CRV and they'll update it. The thing is, almost guarantee the V6 will be gone. The 6-speed automatic will be gone. It's going to be a turbo 4-cylinder. It's going to have a 9 or 10-speed automatic transmission like other Acura products. And I would, if you're really interested in getting one and you want to hold it long term, like over 5 years, the last of the ones that's out now would be the bulletproof one, and I put several people into that over the last few months because they're more concerned about reliability. Now the new one will have a much improved dash and technology, but that's what's going to be coming. It's probably going to be announced soon and delivered sometime next year. What do you think in the near future? We're looking at more Tesla-type vehicles in the market. Well, I talked about this a little bit earlier. There's going to be more full electrics coming to market. The manufacturers, all of the manufacturers, the mainstream brands, the biggest car companies in the world, which include Volkswagen Group, General Motors, and Toyota. Well, Volkswagen Group has already announced full electrics are coming. They have the e-Golf in the market now. General Motors has announced that they're going to be producing in the next couple of years, I think it was 13 new all-electric vehicles based on that Bolt technology and spreading it across their lines, which is going to be exciting for them. Toyota is developing full electrics. They were very slow to this. They were going to go from hybrids right to hydrogen, but they've seen that the market is asking for full electrics, so they're going to be going to that. And the Volkswagen Group, as I mentioned, is investing huge sums of money into this. Then you add in Daimler, then you add in BMW, so there's going to be more full electrics coming to market. And I would suspect by model year 2020 is when the big push is going to come. So here we are just months away from 2018. So 2020 model vehicles are going to be arriving here not that far off, in a blink of an eye before you know it. Sunroofs eventually leak. I was someone commenting on the fact I don't like sunroofs. Gordon Freeman says, love you and Mike. Thanks very much. Hey, Mike is going on a road trip. I didn't mention that on the list of vehicles we're going to be heading on the road to test drive. So I'm going to go and drive the Stinger because I've been doing this longer. And Mike is going to be going to the Okanagan to be driving the new NX, the Lexus NX, which is their vehicle built on the RAV4 platform. So Mike is definitely doing more videos and he's heading out on the road, and that's his second trip for Motormouth Canada, so we appreciate that. Zach, how can I get a job like yours? Well, I did do an open audition and I got over 100 videos. And what do you guys think? Should I do another audition and see if somebody else bubbles to the top? Now, I did mention last week that Mike Gurr, who's the contributor to the channel now, who's sort of interning, really stood out head and shoulders above everybody else. And when you watch his reviews, for a guy who's never done this before, never done any camera work or editing, he does it all himself, just like me. He shoots it, hosts it, edits it, and we post it online. He's doing an amazing, amazing job. So, you know, if you ever want to, you know, submit a video, just go to the website, which is motormouth.ca, and get it in. Oh, I forgot to mention, hey, we have a winner, by the way, of the backpack. Last week, we asked people to enter in to win this Honda backpack that I got at the Accord launch. Very nice backpack, leather, check, and we got a bunch of entries, and I just scrolled through all of the entries and I stopped on one, and the winner is Simam or Simon Tam, lives in Richmond, British Columbia. So I will be emailing you back, getting your vitals, and we'll get that sent off to you. And when I do get some swag into, you know, from going on a launch, I will pass that along and let you guys win that. How's my driving record? I'm going through these again. So yeah, if you want to try to get started in this career, you need somebody to give you a start. And you know, this has been great for Mike. And if you really think you got the stuff, send me a video. See what happens. Hey Zach, which would you choose? The Q5, the X3, the GLC base models. Now, I think that it's between the Q5 and the GLC. Q5 is the newest, the latest. The GLC is a wonderful product. I think that both of these are excellent. The Q5 has just a little bit more power at 252. The GLC has 241, but the GLC has a 9-speed automatic, and it doesn't have the same 9-speed that you see across other brands like Land Rover, Range Rover, and Chrysler, and others like Acura use transmission made by a company called ZF in Germany. They don't use that. They made their own 9-speed automatic. And when you drive the GLC, that really makes a huge difference. The transmission is perfectly programmed with that 241 horsepower engine, and it has drive modes, and it really can be a rewarding vehicle to drive. Exactly the same with the Q5. Lighter, more nimble, great packaging, wonderful dash for both. So if it was me, it would be between those two. X3 is getting long in the tooth, but the good news is you might be able to get some deals on the X3 because it's competing against some new products. So often BMW is very aggressive with lease and finance rates. I'm just reading some of these quickly. Hey Zach, ready for a new vehicle? This is from Mikey Wilcock. I live in southern Alberta, have 3 young boys, but my wife has the minivan. What do you think? The Nero, the 2017 Nero, or the Buick Encore with an upgraded motor? Well, I think that you probably need something a little bit bigger than those, to be honest with you. I would go more for a mid-size utility vehicle, like a vehicle the size of a Grand Cherokee or a Ford Edge. So it's got 5 passengers, but has more space. I just think those two vehicles you're thinking of are maybe just a little bit small if you've got 3 kids. When is the new Audi A7, A6 coming to North America? Well, it's interesting. There was just stories today of a leaked sort of picture of the new A7, and all they show is the silhouette of the car, which is very easy to identify. So sounds to me like it's coming soon. I'm looking at a 2012 Mercedes GL 350. What are your thoughts? Would you say it's reliable? I'm a little worried about the air suspension problems I keep reading about. Well, the thing is with vehicles, as I mentioned, once they get older and they're German, they can be expensive to repair. So yes, a 2012 Mercedes 350 with air suspension can be an issue. The GL was anecdotally a bit problematic, and this is only from grandmother research. People I know who had them were back at the shop frequently, and that's just, as I mentioned, grandmother research. I don't have any hard data to back that up, but go in with your eyes wide open, get the vehicle inspected. And the thing about all of the technology that you can get in vehicles like that, like air suspension, is they can break. So sometimes going to a simpler vehicle with just regular springs instead of air springs can be something to consider. Any updates on the Mazda CX-5 availability? I already covered that. Nothing yet, but we'll have to wait and see. Oh, somebody just asked, what cars do you own? Any plans for a new car in the future? Well, we have an Audi A7 diesel, and we're in the holding pattern as to what's going to happen with the 3-liter diesel from Audi, Volkswagen, and Porsche. So we're kind of on hold there, waiting for the settlement to be officially done here in Canada. It's been done in the US. The 2-liter for Volkswagen has been done in Canada, so we're just waiting on that. And then, if you're just tuning in now, I was thinking of getting a new Cayenne, so that's something to consider. I had an air-cooled Porsche 993. I just sold that last year. I wasn't driving it, and it was worth a lot of money. It went way up in value, so I sold that. I sold a Volkswagen van. I had a 1987 Volkswagen van, which was my kick-around van for going to Home Depot and stuff. So that went, and I bought a 10-year-old Toyota Tacoma. So once we find out what's happening with the Audi diesel situation, we'll transition into something new. Might be a Cayenne. And then I do want to get back into another sports car again, but would probably be another Porsche of some kind. So that's what's been in the driveway and what might be coming in the future. Anthony just said, what are your thoughts on the Pilot Touring with the 9-speed automatic transmission? So this is my last question. I just want to let you know that I drove it initially and I thought it was crap, to be honest with you, terrible. And then I drove it again later and it was vastly improved. So either the model that I had was not running right, or they've done software updates to the transmission to improve it. That is the 9-speed transmission that is made by ZF. When you go to the 10-speed or the 8-speed that the Acura and Hondas have, those are in-house units. But that 9-speed is that ZF. So try it for yourself. I thought it was a bit glitchy and didn't really work well in the first couple of gears. Mid-range speeds, it was totally fine and smooth. But that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to remember the nomenclature of the one below that, not the Touring, but the one just below that has the 6-speed is the one that I would get. All right, so last one, I was so excited because it was the first live show that I went over an hour long, which was crazy. But I want to thank everybody that's got questions in. I didn't get to all of them, and there's so many people that have been on here doing wonderful comments, so I appreciate that. And we're going to be doing this as often as possible. Next week, as I mentioned, I'm going to be in Europe driving the new Porsche Cayenne. But when I come back, I'll put the live show on probably later in the week next week. I don't want to do it on the weekend because it's the weekend. But yeah, the show will be on again next week, and we'll do it week after week after week. The days might shift a little bit because I do travel so much. But thank you to everybody. And I will get the backpack out to our winner, and any new swag that comes in, I'll be giving that away as well. So tell your friends, watch the live shows, get your questions in. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much. I've got to get used to doing the reading and the answering the questions all at once. But thank you very much for tuning in. It really is wonderful to hear from people that watch the reviews and watch the channel, and I thank you a lot, and I'll speak to you next week right here on the live show.